The next and last two forms of categorical propositions are specifically what we would call, in terms of their quantity, particular propositions. So the first sort of proposition we'll refer to are the I proposition. Is the I proposition, I should say. So the form of this particular proposition will be sum S R P. Okay. In other words, what these propositions are saying is at least one member of class S is a member of the P class. Okay. So again, with the Venn diagrams, the way we would symbolize this would be in the following way. So again, we'll put our subject over here and our predicate over here. Now let's take an example. So here's an example. Some people are early risers. So in this case, the subject is really referring to people. It can be that broad. And the P class refers to early risers. Now again, this statement isn't saying every person is an early riser. It's saying that only certain people are early riser. And more, actually, technically, it's saying there's at least one person in the universe who is an early riser. So the way we would symbolize this in terms of the Venn diagram is we would put an X right in the middle where the two circles meet. This is just to say that it's not completely filled in, it's not completely shaded in, because it's not saying every single case of a person is also a case of an early riser. It's saying there's at least one person out there who is an early riser here. So if we're referring to the quality of this statement, we would say that it is once again an affirmative claim, and as we alluded to earlier, this is what we would call a particular categorical proposition here, right? Now, the very final kind of proposition is again another case of a particular, in terms of quantity, a particular proposition, as opposed to a universal proposition. So in this case, what we would say then here is that as opposed to some S or P, instead we are saying then that some S are not P. Which is, to spell this out again further, to say that there's at least one member of the S class, or the class of S, that is not, okay, so at least one member of class S is not a member of the P class. Okay. Right, so again with our Venn diagram here, put this back in here. So let's take an example like, for instance, some people do not have brown hair. Now, before we begin, I should note something here. As we'll talk about later on in the module, this particular statement actually isn't in standard form, but it is the natural way we would make it, like excuse me, this should be an O claim. It is a natural way. It should be an O claim here. it is a natural way we would say it. If we were to put this statement into standard form, we would have to say something along the lines of, some people, and it sounds awkward by the way, some people are not people who have brown hair. That would be the best way to put it. Because again, we would have to get our to be, our copula, and we would need to have a noun that would be modified by, having brown hair. Okay? Or, I guess another way of saying it is, some people are not brown-haired people. That's actually the easiest probably way of converting that. But this is like an ordinary language version of an O proposition. So again, this is the O proposition, not the I, the O. So with O propositions here, what we're saying is there's at least one member of the S class, in this case people, that is not a member of the predicate class, which is brown-haired people. Okay. And again, the quantity on these O statements is that they are a particular claim. They're only referring to some members of a class. And the quality of this would be negative. So if you're wondering why we refer to all these propositions as A, E, I, O propositions, the reason we do goes back to the way medieval logicians classified these statements here. So there's actually a kind of like interesting mnemonic device that we can use to remember these A, E, I, O propositions and what they symbolize. Okay, so here I'll show you. In Latin we have two terms, affirmo and nego. So the way the medievals would remember the different sorts of propositions is they would use A for the affirmative universal claim, and the I for the particular affirmative claim, N for the universal negative claim, and O for the particular negative claim.